Good morning, Excellencies, honorable participants. It is my privilege and honor to welcome you to the Heads of State Summit for the member countries of the East Mediterranean and the Middle East Climate Change Initiative. Our event will commence with the opening remarks from their Excellencies, the President of the Republic of Cyprus and the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, to be followed by presentations of the initiative from the Minister of Agriculture, Rural Development and Environment of the Republic of Cyprus and the Special Envoy of the Republic of Cyprus on climate change. We will continue with remarks from heads of state and government and observers. Concluding remarks will then be delivered by their Excellencies, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt and the President of the Republic of Cyprus. With great pleasure, I now invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Cyprus, Mr. Nikos Anastasiadis, for his opening statement.
There are a few who are looking how to distract Cyprus, but still is here. Excellencies, at the outset, I'd like to once again convey my sincere congratulations to the President and the government of the Arab Republic of Egypt for hosting COP27. As I would also like to warmly thank and extend my sincere gratitude to the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, my dear friend Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who through his personal interest and efforts made it possible to hold today's event part of the COP27 deliberations. The fact that Egypt undertook to organize such an important international event, which receives the attention of the entire world, constitutes a yet again tangible proof of the leadership characteristics and the widespread respect and appreciation that President el-Sisi and Egypt enjoy by the international community and the United Nations Secretariat. Excellencies, it is an honor and a great pleasure to welcome you together with President el-Sisi at the summit meeting for the adoption of the Cyprus Climate Change Initiative for the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East. Your presence is indicative of our collective determination to address the dire effects of the challenges we are facing in our neighborhood, taking also into account that our region is classified as a global climate change hotspot. Consequently, our countries are already suffering from common warming phenomena such as record high temperatures and protracted heat waves, devastating fires and deforestation, increased water scarcity, droughts, floods, and extreme weather phenomena. To this end, in 2017, responding to the urgent call of the international scientific community, which has now been joined by our peoples, we recognize the need to immediately act and effectively address or mitigate to the extent possible these catastrophic phenomena. More than 240 scientists, principally from our own countries, from our own region, responded to this call and prepared relevant thematic reports on issues such as agriculture and food, education, health, technology, migration, energy, tourism, health, cultural heritage, and of course, water. Through the scientific work that is available to us now, beyond gaining a better understanding of the situation and how the crisis will unfold in the near future, we are also far more well informed on which actions to implement. And now, through the political declaration to be adopted in a while, we are fully equipped to proceed with the implementation of the relevant action plan, which sets out specific policies and projects that will have practical, achievable, and enduring benefits to our citizens. Through the implementation of the set action plan, which emphasizes on transboundary actions, we hope to expect that our countries will first succeed in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and our carbon footprint, adhering to the Paris Agreement. Second, adapt to some of the unfortunately unavoidable climate change impacts. Third, establish the necessary mechanisms for more resilient and competitive economies by switching to renewable and clean energy. Fourth, obtaining access to appropriate climate change financial instruments and mechanisms. Fifth, provide incentives to our businesses and industries so as to adapt and shift to sustainable and green technologies in order to increase their competitiveness in the global markets. And last, create new green employment opportunities. Your Excellencies, the signing of the political declaration by the countries of the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East will embark the official launch of the initiative undertaken by Cyprus and constitute a historical milestone for the resilience and prosperity in Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East. A historic milestone, I might comment, which fits perfectly in our collective vision, which is none other than to look to the future with optimism, to use common challenges as an opportunity to proudly demonstrate what our countries can achieve when they join forces by cooperating and acting together. Once again, I would like to thank President Sisi, whom I can proudly call as brother, for his invaluable support to our initiative, but I particularly would like to thank him for hosting and co-organizing today's event. In concluding, I have no doubt that we shall act with urgency, collaborate and coordinate our efforts so as to deliver to the next generation a better and greener future. Thank you for your presence and attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my honor to invite His Excellency, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, to deliver his opening remarks.
شكرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فخامة الرئيس نيكوس رئيس جمهورية قبرص، أصحاب الجلالة والفخامة والسمو، يسعدني أن أرحب بكم اليوم في هذه الجلسة المهمة التي تعقد بالشراكة بين مصر وقبرص. وأود في هذا الصدد أن أعبر عن خالص تقديري لصديقي العزيز الرئيس نيكوس رئيس جمهورية قبرص على مبادرته بعقد هذه الجلسة خلال قمة شرم الشيخ لتنفيذ تعهدات المناخ، وذلك في إطار حرصه على المساهمة في خروج قمتنا بنتائج تسهم في ترسيخ مبدأ التنفيذ الذي نجتمع في إطاره. السيدات والسادة، لقد حرصت مصر على الانضمام إلى مبادرة تنسيق عمل المناخ في الشرق الأوسط وشرق المتوسط منذ إطلاقها 2019، إيمانا منها بأهمية الدور الذي يمكن لهذه المبادرة أن تقوم به في إطار تنسيق سياسات مواجهة تغير المناخ بين دول أعضاء المبادرة، بما يساهم في تعزيز عمل المناخ وجهود التغلب على آثاره السلبية في محيطنا الإقليمي. وهي منطقة كما تعلمون تعد ضمن أكثر مناطق العالم تأثرا بتبعات تغير المناخ وآثاره المدمرة على كافة الأصعدة، وهو ما بات واضحا بشكل ملموس خلال السنوات القليلة الماضية. التي شهدت أحداثا مناخية قاسية في المنطقة، من حرائق للغابات إلى فيضانات وسيول خلفت خسائر بشرية ومادية جسيمة. ولعلكم تتفقون معي أن المبادرات الطوعية الرامية لحشد الدعم لجهود مواجهة تغير المناخ قد أصبحت إحدى أهم آليات عمل المناخ العالمي، لا سيما وأنه قد أصبح من المعلوم أنه على الرغم من المسؤولية الرئيسية للدول والحكومات في هذا الجهد، إلا أن الأطراف الأخرى غير الحكومية يمكن لها بل يتعين عليها أن تمارس أدوارا مكملة وداعمة انطلاقا من
complementary role due to its responsibility and following the principles of solidarity and synergy. Here comes the importance of these initiatives that give the opportunity to all these parties to coordinate their policies and efforts. In fact, this initiative on which we are convening today and what distinguishes it from other initiatives and efforts is the scientific component that is inevitable if we are seeking to make our efforts to confront climate change in line with the best sciences available, in a way that would put us on the right path towards achieving Paris Agreement, considering the 1.5 degrees centigrade. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking forward during our meeting to get to know what the initiative was able to achieve since launching it up till today, as well as the regional action plan suggested. And I'm confident that it would contribute to enhancing our joint efforts towards confronting climate change in the region. I'm also looking forward to listening to the experiences and different lessons learned from member states in this initiative regarding their efforts to confront climate change on the national and regional levels. I'm confident that we will get out of our discussions today with an in-depth understanding of the challenges facing our countries and the efforts needed to confront it. Thank you for your due listening.
Thank you, Excellency. We continue with the presentation of the initiative by Professor Kostas Kadis, Minister of Agriculture, Rural Development and Environment of the Republic of Cyprus.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished guests, it is a true honor for me to be here today with you in order to present the philosophy and the progress achieved so far by the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East Climate Change Initiative. As it was already mentioned, our region has been classified by the scientific community as a global climate change hotspot. That means that it is one of the most vulnerable to climate change areas of the whole planet. Indeed, recent scientific data indicate that the region is heating up twice as fast as the rest of the planet. And under a business as usual scenario, which is shown in the graph with the red line, by the end of the century, the region may have reached temperatures 5 degrees higher than those at the beginning of the century. All the countries of the region have expressed their serious concerns about climate change and its impacts, and at the same time their willingness to comply with the Paris Agreement. However, their efforts are held behind due to the lack of detailed environmental observations and modeling, which are necessary for developing accurate predictions, adequate mitigation and especially adaptation strategies to climate change, and coordinated policy actions, sharing of good practices and common projects, especially of transboundary nature. These gaps and these limitations were identified and discussed in an international conference on climate change in the Mediterranean and the Middle East, which took place in Cyprus in May 2018, and it was organized by the Cyprus Institute. The Cyprus Institute is a leading research and education organization based in Cyprus. The main outcome of that conference was that coordinated action is necessary, and action based on sound scientific knowledge is required in order to effectively address the impacts of climate change in our region. That message was well received by our President, Mr. Nikos Anastasiadis, who announced his initiative to bring together the scientific community with the policymakers of the region and develop an action plan which aims to address the specific challenges of the countries in the region, to ameliorate the impacts of climate change through scientifically sound and technologically vetted concerted actions, and to implement mitigation actions in accordance with the Paris Agreement. The initiative consists of two components, the scientific component and the decision-making component. Within the framework of this scientific component, 13 task forces have been established, engaging more than 240 distinguished scientists from over 20 countries, mostly from the region and in the international organizations. This phase was coordinated by the Cyprus Institute. All the advanced findings of the scientific community were presented at an international conference that took place in Cyprus 1 year ago, and they were discussed in two ministerial meetings that took place in February and in June 2022. And now, based on all this work, we have a solid scientific understanding of the nature of the evolving climate crisis and its impacts on the economy, on the society, on the environment. And we have identified the most appropriate actions to mitigate the climate change and ameliorate its impacts. And these actions form the basis of the regional action plan, which is now ready to come into force. Actually, today, the leaders of the region, through the declaration that you have in your folders, will express their willingness to utilize the outcomes achieved so far, to utilize the action plan. Before concluding, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all the scientists and policymakers that contributed to the development of this action plan and the work that has been carried out. The clear message that we send from this meeting is that only by acting collectively, decisively and based on sound scientific knowledge can we avoid the worst consequences of climate change in our region. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. I now invite Professor Kostas Papanikolas, Special Envoy of the Republic of Cyprus on climate change, for the presentation of the action plan.
It's a true honor to be here, humbling task to present to you the action plan. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the regional action plan which I'm about to present can be understood as an elaboration of the motto of this visionary, extraordinary, most successful conference of the parties, together for implementation, as applied to our region, the Eastern Mediterranean Middle East region. The regional action plan is based, as already stated by the President and Minister Cadiz, on the scientific findings of the thematic task forces which worked for 3 years to present this voluminous work. Forecasts emerging from this scientific work are nothing but alarming. Already 5 degrees was mentioned, twice as fast progressing in our region, is nothing short of an inferno. We cannot have it. It's impossible. It draws international attention from Wall Street Journal and Washington Post to Hindustan Times, from the Reuters and the Arab world or Kathimerini are highlighting this and the message is getting through. Because it's based on alarming results, based on the best scientific evidence we can muster today. They cannot be brushed aside as hearsay, published in the best journals of the world. The effects reach internationally, affect the entire world, wide repercussions. Mass migration on this modeling is expected, if we do nothing, to be in tens of millions, probably reaching as much as 80 million people if no action is taken. This will affect not the region only, it will affect the entire world. So, from scientific studies, and this is very important, based on the best scientific tools we have to move to action. The initiative is not only about understanding and mapping the risks in every sector of the economy and social activity. It is primarily to use this understanding to plan and implement measures to ameliorate these effects. It is about concerted action of our countries in the region to move into projects which are necessary to achieve this goal. The formidable scientific background that has been progressing assesses the situation in each sector. We have identified gaps in understanding. There are many. There are research and policy needs that need to be implemented. It allowed us to propose a technologically mature, affordable solutions for addressing the impacts of climate change in different sectors. Actually, transboundary actions are necessary to lower the cost that would have been necessary if we were to act as each country alone. The Climate Action Plan is a voluminous, resides in computers to understand the multidimensionality of it, because there are many sectors that interfere and or coordinate with each other. Each of the 80 or so proposed measures are well documented, indexed by maturity index, indexed by cost envelope, time evolution, technologies that can be employed to achieve them. It's a fantastic toolkit for policymakers to reach on the given specific area of concern to see how it can be addressed. Indicative priority areas is just about everything. I won't go through it. It ranges from forest fires to the impact of diseases because of climate change, impact on culture, et cetera, et cetera. You all know it. I will focus on one example and highlight another one to give you a flavor of what can be done. The most important and the most economic is that we have, in a regional basis, model to the limits of the scientific ability of how this crisis is evolving. Unless we know how in space and in time it will evolve, the actions taken will be probably not as effective, will be more costly, and at the end, saving money on the modeling will be paid in multiple times in not as effective ways. Regional is the problem, and regional should be the answer. Measurements, calibration, and verification is not well developed in our region. It's necessary to have accurate modeling. We need this data. We need to share this data. It's important to have it to see how we progress in addressing these dire effects that are forecasted to be with us. Here is a case study. Your Excellency, it concerns Cairo here in this case, but the problem is with every city in the region. The heat island effects of that hit more our cities than the surrounding area. Right now, the state of the art is about 15-kilometer resolution. There are tools available today to bring it down to the street level. Here is an example we did with, together with Egyptian institutions, bring the resolution down to 4 kilometers. Already, one can identify where the most vulnerable areas, the heated areas are, and therefore, that's where the effort should focus in order to ameliorate this discomfort, which is very expensive actually in energy terms, because every degree up, it takes another 15% hit on the electricity bill. In Cyprus, this is the city of Limassol, where it's an example of a flash flood, which is supposed to be very rare, few times in a century, but we know now through this modeling exactly which neighborhoods will be hit. So the city planners have time now as they improve the city to save it from a catastrophe. And we have seen flash floods from Greece to Saudi Arabia hitting one city after the other. And finally, on the same modeling, here is Beirut. On a neighborhood, street by street, square by square, we can see how to correct the problem, increase the discomfort, lower the energy cost, save money overall, addressing both adaptation and mitigation. I don't have time to go into bigger transboundary actions, which are essential, sharing electricity through interconnectors, energy interconnectors, gas pipelines, water, and other resources. Our region is probably, if you take that it has 450 million people, is probably, in terms of putting the weather forecast and the impact, the hotspot of climate change in the world. Technologically and organizationally, we are ready to begin to address this curse. The declaration is a major milestone, possibly of very important historic significance, as already stated by President Anastasiadis. However, the most challenging, by far difficulty lies ahead, implementation. But President Sisi, you told us, together for implementation, and we should start with our region and the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. I now open the floor for remarks from participating states. I would like to invite His Excellency the Prime Minister of the Hellenic Republic, Mr. Kyriakos Mitsotakis.
Thank you very much, President Sisi, President Anastasiadis. Dear friends, it's a real pleasure to be here with you today and to take part in this event focusing on the Eastern Med and the Middle East Climate Change Initiative. Allow me, dear Nikos, to start by thanking the Republic of Cyprus for taking the initiative to deepen and upscale the climate cooperation in our region. I would like to particularly thank your experts. What you presented today is clearly the result of a very substantial piece of academic and scientific work. And when I look at the action plan that you have presented, I'm impressed by how comprehensive it is, and it reminds us that climate change, especially climate change in the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East, really touches everything. It will reshape our built environment, our cities. It will affect food and water systems, human health, migration, and of course energy, the green transition, and energy cooperation. Let me quickly highlight 2 points which I think are of particular importance to this audience. The first is the need to further cooperate when it comes to energy interconnection. This is a topic that is very close to our hearts. We are looking to expand the electricity interconnection from Greece to Cyprus and to Israel. And of course, we're looking with President Sisi to build a new significant interconnection between Greece and Egypt in order to be able to transfer cheap renewable energy produced in this part of the world, not just to Greece, but also to the European markets that are craving for cheaper energy produced by renewables. At the same time, breaking the isolation of Cyprus is particularly important, obviously, for geopolitical reasons. Second point I want to highlight, which was not really presented in detail in your action plan, but it may offer an opportunity for very immediate collaboration, is in the field of civil protection. We're all faced with catastrophic events. Some of us are, for example, more prone to wildfires. Others may be more prone to floods. And it is relatively easy and effective to cooperate in terms of sharing resources when it comes to civil protection. For example, in the wildfires that we had this summer, which were, thank God, much less damaging than the ones we had last summer, Jordan very quickly reacted and sent us a helicopter. We've done the same with Israel and vice versa. So I would encourage the team to examine the possibility of a stronger cooperation in terms of civil protection. We're doing this at the level of the European Union, and I think it would also be a very good signal for the European mechanism, the RESC-EU mechanism, to possibly partner with countries in the region to further pool resources to be able to respond to events which we know will happen with increased likelihood. This summer, in terms of water and fires, we were lucky. Western Europe was facing problems of drought and wildfires, but we're pretty sure that these events will occur with increased frequency in the future. So again, congratulations on the initiative, and we stand ready to help with implementation and sharing of best practices, especially when it comes to easy and relatively cheap solutions which can be shared by all countries participating in this important gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. I would like to invite the President of Iraq, Dr. Abdul Latif Rashid, for his statement.
There you go, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, thank you for your speeches, which I think covered most of the aspects of what we are here for today, most of the aspects of climate changes and other factors. I fully agree with His Excellency, the President of Egypt, His Excellency Mr. Sisi. The time has come to take action and implement. I think we have enough information, knowledge, technology, all aspects of climate change, climate on its own, to tackle these problems. But what we need is really implementation and execution of these problems and try to solve as many as we can. It will take a long time, but I think we have to start. Doesn't matter if you don't have fully budget for it, but I think whatever is available, we have to start with it. There are direct and indirect factors which are affecting climate. I'm not going to go to details because I think there has been a lot of speeches on it, such as increase in population. I think this is a very important factor which has to be considered. And we appeal to the United Nations to draw some lines along these increase of population. Use of natural resources in every aspect, and I consider water to be natural resources as well. The main factors which are related to climate change, one is pollution in all aspects of pollution, whether it's use of natural resources or we create pollution by mankind. The other factor is, no doubt, is water resources. Availability of water resources to tackle pollution. In these fields, I consider, and I'm very concerned about water resources globally, which is very important, and we have to really consider these factors. And I would like to minimize the factors as a whole in 3-4 factors. One factor is beyond our control, which is climate. Climate has a lot of effect on water resources. Rain, snow, wind, all aspects of climate has direct effect on our water resources. Second, regional policies. How we share water among ourselves in a just kind, and how we are aware of operation factors in every country. Operation procedure is a very important aspect of water sharing, especially by neighboring countries. I think this has to be agreed, and again, we need international community to help us along these lines. Not only observe, but to contribute to it. Thirdly, which is again is very important, how we concentrate on improving our systems, especially systems of irrigation. We cannot go back to past use water as it was available. We have to spend and invest in new systems of irrigation and agriculture. Without it, I think we are going to face a lot of shortage of water in future. I'll give you one example. We had plenty of water in Iraq. Now we are facing shortage of water in Iraq because we haven't improved our system. So I appeal to every country to try its best to improve the systems and to make control of how we distribute and how we allow to use water. These probably needs some laws, enforcement, and at the same time, education in all aspects of life. Thank you very much. I think I'll leave it to that.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We continue with His Excellency the Prime Minister and Minister of Defense of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, Dr. Bishr al-Kashauna.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Your Excellency President Nikos Anastasiadis, President of the Republic of Cyprus, if you may allow me at the outset to extend a word of gratitude and thanks and indeed congratulations for President Sisi and Egypt for hosting COP27 and for the usual splendid hospitality and outstanding organization of this particular event. And Mr. President Anastasiadis, allow me to also extend our appreciation to the government of Cyprus for leading the East Mediterranean and Middle East Climate Change Initiative. This initiative, Excellencies, and attendant declaration that hopefully we will embark upon and implement comes at a critical time, where we need to act with greater urgency to respond to the impacts of climate change. Our region is confirmed by multiple scientific reports and evidence-based research as a climate change hotspot that is warming at a rate 20% higher than the global average. We must therefore take advantage of the global momentum that has been building and act in the interest of our countries, our region, and the whole globe. In Jordan, the climate change crisis is indeed amplified by economic, environmental, and social challenges, resource limitations, and sharp population increases due to political crises in the region and a large, sudden influx of refugees from neighboring countries. This is why Jordan has taken the lead and initiative to launch the Climate Refugee Nexus Initiative, which aims to shed light on the unique challenges faced by countries facing the double challenge of climate change and population displacement. My country, Jordan, is, in short, strained and utilizing all its efforts to push towards environmentally sustainable and socially inclusive green growth in order to address its development challenges while at the same time fulfilling our national ambitions and international commitments. Your Excellencies, distinguished heads of delegations, today presents indeed an important opportunity to emphasize the necessity of collective work and action at the regional level in an all-inclusive manner to face our common climate challenge and to have our voice heard more clearly in the global arena. we must always remember that environmental and climate challenges do not recognize borders. Hence, regional cooperation is imperative and necessary. More work needs to be done within the region, where it is important that we generate our own data to drive evidence-based actions to be implemented on the ground. Here, allow me to point out to the importance of capacity building, technology transfer, and expertise exchange as key elements of cooperation, in addition to implementing joint projects based on complementarity between countries of the region. Progress can be made, but inclusive and sustainable growth cannot be achieved for all without the fulfillment and delivery on the financial pledges to enable developing countries to tackle the environmental challenges which are growing each and every day. Finally, I'd like to reiterate Jordan's support to the East Mediterranean and Middle East Climate Change Initiative and its regional action plan, looking forward to their successful implementation together indeed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Excellency. I would like to invite His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the State of Palestine, Mr. Mohammed Shtayyeh.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, congratulations on the marvelous event. You and the team have put us on track. So well done for the well organization. Mr. President Nikos, congratulations on this very important initiative. The issue for us in Palestine is not only the East Mediterranean. The issue for us as well is the Mediterranean itself. So we have to look at the two sides of the story, the sea itself and the offshore and the onshore, because there is a dialectical relationship between what we have here and what we have there. The regional action plan, I think, is extremely important, but it does enjoy the spirit of partnership. And that is what Cyprus is calling for, an orchestrated effort for all of us to really come forward into the implementation that has been really suggested and proposed by Your Excellency, Mr. President. But also, I think the effort, this orchestrated effort, is not about governments. It has to be about people. It has to be about NGOs. It has to be about private sector. It has to be about creating a new culture of how do we behave as individuals and how do we behave as governments when it comes to really efforts that are going into this direction. And I think it will be important for all of us while we look at having a clean Mediterranean and measures that does affect the whole region. Speaking about the Mediterranean, the issue is not about the East Mediterranean. Of course, we all live in the East Mediterranean, but the Mediterranean includes North, South, and East, and West. So also, as it has been presented or suggested by our dear friend, the Prime Minister of Greece, that you need a more comprehensive effort when it comes to regional issues on East Mediterranean and other issues. Speaking about water, my dear friend, President of Iraq, in Palestine, Palestinians, we consume only 72 liters per person per day. World Health Organization suggests that a human being needs 120 liters per day. Our neighbors, the Israelis, they consume 430 liters per day per person. So therefore, when we speak about issues, one has also always to remember that issues are about cooperation, yes, but also about rights on the other hand. Having said that, my dear friend, business is unusual. And under this current situation, we should not consider the urgency of the situation as business as usual. Business is unusual, and therefore we have to act according to a situation in which business is unusual. Having said that, also, within the limitation of the time, I think we have enough evidence. Scientific data that you refer to is very important, but also the symptoms. We all feel it, whether with scientific data or by human observation. It is all felt. And I think that what is really needed with all of this is that we need a serious paradigm shift. The serious paradigm shift that has to do with behavior of people, behavior of industry, behavior of government, in order for us all to stop destruction and also change the mindset from positive thinking about the environment to public education as well as regional responsibility. To conclude, Mr. President, in Palestine, we don't really contribute to climate change. We are affected by it, but we don't cause it. And therefore, but still, we stand solid because we are part of the region to contribute with any solution that is suggested, and we take the responsibility to be part of this very important initiative under your leadership, Mr. President. Congratulations again. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak for this. Shukran.
Thank you, Excellency. I would like now to give the floor to the Honorable Minister of Environmental Protection of the State of Israel, Mrs. Tamar Zandberg.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, President of Egypt, the President of Cyprus, dear delegates. It is an honor to be here, and my friends from Cyprus, I can already call you my friends. I'm very glad to represent Israel in these heads of state, and actually speaking on behalf of our President Herzog that unfortunately have to leave, but launching this implementation of the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East climate change. Congratulations to the President of the Republic of Egypt for hosting the entire event and the conference, and also this specific initiative, which is very important, and Israel has actually been a player from the beginning, both on the scientific side and on the policy making. I wish to express my appreciation to the government of Cyprus for its leadership, and I think your geography puts you in a very you're well positioned to lead on this issue. I think I'm very excited because the countries sitting around this table, we are the countries of the region, and we share a lot. We share many things in culture, in traditions, and also, most importantly, we share the climate. We share the desert, we share the sea, we share the flora. We also share the already happening, but also future disasters and maybe even catastrophes. This initiative is very important because there is only one way to face climate change, and that is together. So if we share the problems, we can also share the solutions, and we can use our knowledge and our tools and our capabilities in face of the climate hotspot that we all live in. The temperature in our region are rising faster than the world average. This was already been mentioned, and extreme weather events, rise of sea level. These are all events that we are already experiencing, and of course we know science, but we already see it with our very own eyes, the reports are only an assurance that this is actually what we are experiencing. In Israel, we have started in this previous year, I'm excited to be in this COP27 because Israel comes in a much better position that we came to COP26. We improved our adaptation in billions of shekels in terms of fires, of floods, of dealing with heat waves and heat islands, our preserving the ecosystems that we share in our region, and especially in Israel, being so small but so very unique and important internationally, is a key to us nowadays. And we are very eager to be sharing the knowledge that we develop, but also that we can learn from our neighboring countries, the countries of the region. And the importance of this initiative is that we can share the knowledge that we already possess and exchange it, and in that way better adapt and better prepare for the future and benefit not only the billions living in this region, but also around the world. For example, next week in this COP, we will be sharing in our Israeli pavilion our breakthrough model of climate risk maps. You presented some of it in your presentation, and so we use data and scientific tools to be able to predict in very small resolution how to adapt and how to prepare, and we are eager to share it with the countries of the initiative and the region, and basically the world, and I'm sure that I'm positive that Israel's participation in this initiative is a key not only for the resilience and the adaptation of Israel, but as I said, also to the world and to the region. So I would like to express Israel's full commitment to promoting the cross-border cooperation, the willingness to further support the initiative, to serve any assistance that we can. And again, much appreciation to the Republic of Egypt and Cyprus for hosting this initiative. Thank you so much.
Continuing now with the remarks from observers, I would like to invite Professor Petzeri Tsalas, Secretary General of WMO, on behalf of the UN Secretary General.
Thank you, dear Mr. President. It's a pleasure to address you as well on behalf of Secretary General Guterres. We have just published scientific reports on the status of climate, where we have demonstrated that Europe has been warming the most globally during the past 30 years. We have seen half degrees a decade warming, and we have started seeing more often stagnant weather conditions taking place in this part of the world, meaning that we have high pressure systems with drought, which has been also the case for this summer, and then we can also see low pressure areas moving along the same paths which has been taking place in Pakistan this summer. And this is also related to the warming of the Arctic. We have changed the dynamics of the whole northern hemisphere. And unfortunately, this negative trend in weather patterns will continue for the coming decades, independent of our success in climate mitigation, and we could seize this negative trend in 2060s if we are successful with climate mitigation. But until then, we will see these negative things to continue, meaning more heat waves and drought, especially to this part of the world. And the sea level rise and glacier melting game we have already lost. We have already such a high concentration of carbon dioxide that the melting of glaciers, and especially the big glaciers, Greenland and Antarctica, will continue for the coming hundreds of years or even thousands of years, which is very much threatening the coastal areas, including the Nile Delta here in Egypt. And water is very much the area through which the impacts are felt, and this part of the world is very sensitive. And together with the government of Egypt, we are promoting a new water initiative called AWARE, and to better monitor what's happening with the water resources worldwide. And from WMO's side, we are committed to support that initiative. And here we are also promoting new early warning service initiative to improve the early warning services worldwide, and there's a big need to invest in observing systems, early warning skills, and water resource management, and also delivery of the services to various customers. And we are grateful for the government of Egypt for great cooperation and support for these initiatives. From our side, we are offering full support for this program and also modeling tools for the future development of weather patterns in this part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I proceed, I would really appreciate if everybody could be really, really short and brief, because we are running out of time, please. Thank you for that. And I would like to invite Mr. Nasser Kamel, Secretary General of the Union for the Mediterranean.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Cyprus, Mr. Nikos Anastasiadis, Your Excellency, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Excellencies, let me first praise the leading role of Cyprus and Egypt in the fight against climate change at a global level, and more specifically in our region. Indeed, climate change is a global challenge, but its impacts are not the same all over. The Mediterranean region is particularly exposed. As you know, the area is the second fastest warming globally, and the waters of this shared sea are the fastest warming. Ensuing dramatic climate and environment disruptions are detailed by MEDIC, the group of academics who act as scientific council of the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean Pavilion is the house of the Mediterranean stakeholders, which we have brought in this COP in the exact same spirit as EMME-CCI, to raise awareness and to push for immediate action on mitigation and adaptation through strong regional cooperation. We need to show how, at the small regional scale, we are probably experimenting the global approach to win the climate battle. A simple recipe: together we can. This is the essence of the Union for the Mediterranean. And at the core of the EMME Climate Change Initiative, this is why we strongly support the initiative and will strive all efforts to contribute to the implementation of its regional action plan. Thank you.
Thank you. We continue with the President. I give the floor, to the President of UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, Professor Jeffrey Sachs.
Your Excellencies, congratulations on this most crucial initiative. Your region is unique in the world. It's not just a cradle of civilization, it is the cradle of civilization. And this region has taught more to the world, brought more culture to the world, more ideas to the world than any other region in the world. You have 10,000 years of civilizational resilience. We want you to have 10,000 more years of civilizational resilience, and that is what you are committing to today. It is not a cliche that every solution requires regional cooperation. This is also a complicated region. As long as there's been civilization, there's been conflict in this region too. But now we need, above all, cooperation in this region. And that's why it is so thrilling to see all of you wonderful leaders around the table. I have 3 quick recommendations. First, I believe that the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East could establish an EMME development bank to help you solve these problems. There is a European Investment Bank, there is an African Development Bank, and so forth, but you are a unique region. You have the financial firepower to make a regional development bank. It could solve a huge number of problems. It could mobilize massive financing. Second, I would like to see this region engage in diplomacy, especially around energy transformation. The Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East has more sunshine than just about any place in the world, huge renewable energy potential, but Europe needs to accept it. This is part of diplomacy, renewable energy diplomacy, so that you can export your sunshine to the heart of Europe. And I think this is extremely important. As a group, you can work together. And finally, I love this region above all. Please use this initiative to teach other regions. Get together, make regional initiatives so that you can emulate, because what you have here is remarkable talent, commitment. The Cyprus Institute is a gift for the region, all of the scientists involved, but help other regions to do similarly now. So congratulations, this truly is a historic accomplishment. And President Anastasiadis, congratulations to you for having launched this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. We continue with the Executive Secretary of the UN Economic Cooperation for Europe, Mrs. Olga Algayerova.
Thank you, ma'am. Your Excellency President El-Sisi, Your Excellency President Anastasiadis, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the United Nations Economic Commission, you don't hear me? On behalf of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, it's my pleasure to congratulate you to the launch of this Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East Climate Change Initiative at such a highest level today. As we know, such a huge challenge as climate change cannot be tackled without a collective response. And It's our task to shape collective responses at all levels, global, regional, and national. I want to just mention, just months ago, at the 9th Environment for Europe Ministerial Conference that was held in Nicosia in Cyprus, of course with the excellent support by the Cyprus government, the conference was attended by 900 delegates and government delegations from 52 countries of the pan-European and Mediterranean region. They adopted the Nicosia Ministerial Declaration that called for a joint and coordinated response that can only be achieved through close international cooperation. So today's launch of your region's climate initiative is a good prerequisite for such a joint and coordinated response. In this regard, I am glad to know that more countries of government delegations of even this Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East region participate in our Nicosia Ministerial Conference. And Sharm el-Sheikh, of course, represents another big milestone in the global cooperation. So it's obvious that global solutions might be supported also by the actions. So finally, my organization since 1947 has accumulated extensive experience in supporting regional intergovernmental cooperation. And together with our sister Economic Commission of ESCWA region, we are happy to share this experience in support of your region's climate initiative. So let me thank again to the Cyprus government, His Excellency President Anastasiades for great hospitality and perfect organization of Nicosia Ministerial Conference, and of course government of Egypt and His Excellency President El-Sisi for being our great host in Sharm el-Sheikh. And I wish the East Mediterranean and Middle East initiative a lot of success. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. And now the final remark from observers, from Mrs. Janet Rogan, COP26 Regional Ambassador for the Middle East and Africa.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Cyprus, Mr. Anastasiades, Your Excellency, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Mr. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, thank you very, very much for convening us today and for inspiring us with this initiative. It brings the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East as another type of sub-region into the international work that is being done on implementation. The United Kingdom believes that there is an undeniable link between climate, nature, our social and economic growth, and peace and security. And this is because climate change puts an increasing pressure, as we've heard today, on our use of natural resources, but also on our governance mechanisms to deal with the way we share our natural resources and the way we use them, at all levels, from the national right down to the local level. So when we look at the Eastern Mediterranean Middle East Climate Change Initiative and the Regional Action Plan, it is really encouraging to see that it is based on solid scientific data, but used in a new way as data to enable decision-making. And decision-making that comes right down to the level, like in the Sustainable Development Goals, that we can say in climate change, like in development, we want to leave no one behind because we know where they are left behind. We know where are the hotspots. We know where are the most difficult challenges, and we know how our resources are not necessarily being used most effectively or efficiently, or they're being wasted by the population or by industry or by the way we are managing our cross-border issues. The United Kingdom is working already with some of the countries in this region on transboundary cooperation and challenging issues. And I think whether we are looking at water, or we are looking at energy, or we are looking at the way that we are trading across borders and using our resources, this kind of initiative has the capacity to add a regional element to what each nation is doing. There are issues we cannot deal with as nations alone, and there are issues that we must deal with as nations alone, but this initiative is going to help us make sure that we don't have gaps and that we don't have overlaps. So I think from the perspective of the United Kingdom, we joined the work on this initiative under our COP26 presidency, but we look forward to continuing to work with the Cyprus Institute, with the government of Cyprus, and with all the governments around the table to take forward this regional approach. Thank you.
Semedo from the Food and Agriculture Organization of UN.
Thank you. Let me start by, on behalf of Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization, congratulate the President Sisi and the President Mikos Anastasiades for organizing this Eastern Mediterranean Middle East region launching on this remarkable initiative. As it has been said, this region is facing several challenges, and they are all interdependent and interconnected. Climate change, water scarcity, land degradation, urbanization, and this makes the region's ability to eliminate hunger and malnutrition very challenging. To solve these challenges, it requires transformational change, a paradigm shift supported by broad partnership, bold action, and policies. And we in FAO, we believe that the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East Climate Change Initiative will have a successful record. It's based on evidence, science, strong monitoring tool, and we know the solution, we know determination, we need determination and political will. And I think it has been shown today that we have it. FAO is leading in the Mediterranean water scarcity initiative, and this is a great example of a strong and impactful partnership on water reform in the region. Like this, count on FAO to move forward this agenda and particularly bringing our technical support to its implementation. Thank you.
Thank you. It is my great pleasure now to invite His Excellency, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, to deliver his closing remarks.
شكرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you all for this rich discussion and constructive talks that identified the priorities of climate change action in our countries. I would like also to express my appreciation to the steps presented within the framework of the initiative and the regional ambitious action plan regarding this initiative in line with the execution principle that we're focusing on in the COP27 this year. Egypt is glad to work during the coming period with all member states, the members of the initiative, to secure the implementation of the action plan in a comprehensive manner that would make our countries more capable of confronting climate change and adapt to its adverse effects. On the basis of science, due to our conviction that there is no way out but science and continuous action to overcome challenges facing our world today and our region at the heart of this world. Thank you all, and I recognize that you all acknowledge the importance of achieving the commitments of climate, and I wish you a fruitful participation in the remaining proceedings of COP27 and a good stay in Sharm el-Sheikh city. Thank you all.
Thank you, Excellency. It is my honor to pass the floor to His Excellency, the President of Cyprus, for his closing remarks.
I will try to be the shortest. As I stated in my introductory remarks, today's summit and the declaration of the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East Climate Change Initiative constitute a historic milestone. Through the guidance of my Minister and of Agriculture and Environment, Mr. Kostas Kadis, and of my advisor and Special Envoy on Climate Change, Dr. Kostas Papanikolas, we join forces, and through the work of renowned scientists to whom we are immensely thankful, we delivered the Regional Climate Action Plan. I am pleased but mostly proud to assess that today's summit and the Sharm el-Sheikh declaration of the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East climate change initiative demonstrated how we can deliver on both our national obligations towards the Paris Agreement and on our regional responsibility to collaborate in connected actions as neighbors and friends in the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East. Once again, President Sisi, my brother, thank you for your catalytic support for the adoption of the declaration and for your warm and generous hospitality. At the same time, I wish to thank all of you for your participation, your constructive interventions, and I wish you the best. And to the world, of course, and how to, in cooperation, we can face the climate change and the disastrous results of it. Thank you very much.